Smartphones are computers we carry in our pocket all the time, and they are invaluable tools for photographers. If you are a landscape photographer, you know how important it is to know a bit more about the location you intend to shoot, where the light comes from, at what time of the day you may find the moon, the sun, or the galactic center, and you want to be prepared. If you are a starry landscape photographer, you may also want to know what is your maximum exposure time to keep the stars as a pinpoint source of light. Or maybe you want to do star trails and you're wondering how can you set your gear in order to get compelling star trails. PhotoPills is one of those applications that you can have for your iPhone, iPad or Android device that really helps you in planning your landscape or starry landscape session. So this video I will going to present a little bit this application that is not free. It costs $10. It's extremely easy to use, it's extremely complete, you can get a ton of information, documentation also. And so without further ado, let's see how this application works in more detail. Okay, so here is my iPad and you see I have a number of applications that I use for astrophotography, and one of these is PhotoPills. So when you fire up the application, you are shown with this Pills menu where is the collection of all the different tools that are available for from this application. There are other two menus, that is My Stuff, where you can save and load points of interest, plans, backup them, change the setting for the application, like the camera you use, the type of map you want to display. And then also you can see what are the awarded images submitted by PhotoPills users. So there is a nice community. Here are some of the photos that have been submitted and awarded, and you can submit, of course, your own photos. Now, the Academy menu instead is all about documentation. You have the user guide for the application, video tutorials, general how-to articles, how to shoot the moon, how to shoot the Milky Way. You have a link to the merchandising store for t-shirts, getting mugs, and things like so. You can rate the application, leave a feedback, or know a little bit more about the glossary of terms that are used in astrophotography or in photography in general. So the main menu though will be these pills, and among all these tools, of course, the planner is the main tool. When you tap on it, you have this type of interface here where you have the map, that in this case is a Google map with a standard view. Below you have a representation of the day. You can see it's color code. You have daytime, then you have the red part, that is where is the sunset or the golden hour, and then you fade into the night where is the dark blue. You on the right, you have a lot of information, when the moon and the sun will rise and set, the different civil, nautical, and astronomical twilight, when there will be the blue hours, the golden hour, possibility to see the visibility of the galactic center, and also the eclipse. You can load information about eclipse and meteor shower. And then you have a bottom bar where you have some tools for using the augmented reality, nighttime augmented reality, to search for location, to save your plan, to navigate through different dates and save the altitudes where you are, the altitude of the horizon and things like so. So now the map you see is centered on browser. There is this red pin is the location I am interested in. If I want to be at the Parc du Cinquantenaire, I just tap and hold on the red pin and then move it and drop it on the Parc du Cinquantenaire, and you see all these lines, they change. Those lines represent the direction where the moon and the sun will rise and set, and also where they are actually in the sky. So the thick yellow and orange line represent the direction where the sun will rise and set. The light blue and dark blue thick line, the directions where the moon will rise and set. And then the thin lines, the orange one and the light blue one, will tell you where the sun and the moon are, the direction of the sun and the moon in the day from that locality for this particular time of the day. And you can see in the representation of the day that at this point of the day, at about 1 o'clock, the moon and the sun that are at the highest in the sky, and then they start to go down to close to the horizon, and you see how they move on the map. Now, if you want to go to a different location that is farther than that, it's hard to do it by navigating the map, so you can tap on load, and here you can search for an address. For instance, at Busval is one of my preferred location near Bruxelles for doing astrophotography. Now, this view also doesn't help me much, so I tap on the layer icon and I changed the map type from Google Standard to Google Hybrid. I also can use Apple Maps. Now I do that and I can have an idea of the landscape. And while Busval is at the center of the small town, where I like to go is here, where I drop the pin right now, and I can zoom in and you see that there is a nice chopper. Now, let's suppose that I will be here on this little road there, and so where are the direction of the sun and the moon? So a few days ago I was in this location and I wanted to capture the moon rising near the chapel. So that, I think, was, I can navigate back. You see that when I'm going back in time, day by day, the direction where the moon is rising, this thick light blue line, is moving closer to the chapel. So probably something like, yeah, was 19th of July, and something here around midnight, the moon started to climb up, and you see that it's moving closer and closer to the chapel. And I use this application to plan for the shoot, for this image that I capture. And you can see that I have the moon rising there. Okay, so let's go back, tap on the clock. You can jump directly to a particular date or to the now time. So this will be the current date and time, and we are still at the selected location. So if I want to see if I could be where the galactic center is, I can tap on this visibility CG icon there, and you see a number of lines and be popped on screen. And if I move to the night time, then an arch of dots appear. That will be the Milky Way, and is it telling you where the largest dot are closer to the galactic center. So the direction of the galactic center is south, of course, and yeah, it starts to dip below the horizon after around 2 o'clock or something like so. And now there is another useful things you can do, for instance, with the planner. Let's suppose that I want to photograph the chopper from that position, and let's go back to the 19 where I wanted to do my moon. Here I have 1907, and you see the moon is rising close to the chopper. Which lens should I bring with me if I want to capture this event? Well, I can tap again on the layer. This time go to map tool and select field of view. Done. So I can tap on the camera, choose my camera model. I can tap on the focal length, choose the focal length of my lens. What I want to know is 50 millimeter enough to record the event? So you see that a cone has been shown on the map, I can tap on it, tap on this dot here, and move it around so that it centered the chopper there. And that is pretty much my field of view with a 50mm lens on my camera from that position. Of course, if I move closer and I'm right here, then my 50mm lens is not giving me a large enough field of view, so I have to reduce the focal length or going or move backwards, maybe something like that, in order to have a close, to fill the frame with the chopper, but also to get the moon. So this is pretty much how you can use the planner in a simple way for planning your shoot. But as I said, there are a number of tools that are useful, and particularly for astrophotography, if you want to capture a landscape, a starry landscape, but you want to have the stars as sharp and small as possible with no trailing at all, and you are not tracking, then you can use these spot stars calculators. Here for you choose your camera, in my case the Olympus OMD EM5 Mark II. You can choose a focal length, you can choose an aperture, and also the declination, so how high in the sky is what you want to photograph. So if you are taking a starry landscape, you probably are shooting also close to the horizon, and for this combination setting, you have these two different value of exposure time that in principle allows you to have pinpoint stars. The 500 rule is the classical one, it's just an empirical rule that was good and useful at the time of film photography, but with the actual resolution of current digital sensor is really just a starting point. The NPF rule is a much more sophisticated rule, and you see that there is a little bit of discrepancies, and this is because the NPF rule takes into account the declination of the target you are shooting. Now, stars close to the horizon, as we'll see, for a given amount of time will move much more in the sky than stars that are close to the celestial pole. So if I increase the declination and I go, I don't know, 45 degrees instead of 0, then you will see that the NPF rule actually allows a bit more of exposure than the classical 500 rule. So of the two, I would suggest you to use the NPF rule calculator. And this way, it allows you to estimate your exposure to keep your stars as sharp as possible when you are not tracking. The other extreme is that you may want to have star trails. So you tap on the star trails tool and it shows you the amount of movement stars can have in the sky for a given exposure time. So let's start 0 second, you have pinpoint stars, and then you can slide your finger on the interface on the display, and you see that I'm start to increase the exposure time. Now I am 2 hours and 15 minutes almost, and this is the amount of movement stars have done in the sky. So the center point is the celestial pole. So you see what I said before, stars that are close to the horizon are farther from the celestial pole, are those that move the most across the sky for a given exposure time. That's why the NPF rules change value depending on where you are pointing your camera at. Now you can do that. Let's suppose that you want a movement of stars that covers an angle of 90 degrees. How much you have to expose? That would be about 6 hours, and that's the amount of trail you will have on your image. This is for the northern celestial pole, for the northern hemisphere, and you can note that if you move from pinpoint stars to trail, stars are rotating in a counterclockwise in the northern hemisphere. You switch to south hemisphere, and then you see that from pinpoint stars, they start trailing in a clockwise direction. So another interesting tool is the time-lapse tool. You may want to calculate, you may want to take photos to create a time lapse, and then here it allows you to calculate, for instance, the clip length. If you shoot for 1 hour 30 and you have an interval, this, let's make it simple. If you use 10-second interval between images, you want to photograph for 1 hour and 30 minutes, you would like to create a video 25 frames per second. Your image size may be, something like 14 megabytes each. So you will have a clip length of 21.6 seconds. You have get 540 photographs, and you will use about 7.5 GB of storage memory. So this way you can have an idea of how difficult will be, or how expensive will be to do your time lapse. You can calculate the shooting interval. Let's suppose that I want to create a clip length of 30 seconds this time. At 30 seconds, I want to shoot them, though I want to shoot for 4 hours and a half this time. Again, I want to create a video of 25 frames per second. In this case, I will have to use 21.6 second interval between the shoots. I will have to take 750 images, and I will use 10 GB of memory. So this is give you an idea how to set the camera for taking time lapse. At the bottom you see an interval table. You can have a table that gives you kind of go-to value for interval and duration of the event of the sequence for particular type of event. So if you want stars moving across the sky, you may wait 15 to 60 seconds between shots, and you may want to shoot for 4 hours. If you want to have fast moving clouds, then you use an interval of 1 second, and you can record just 20 minutes, and you will see these clouds moving across the sky. Okay, so then there are other tools like the sun. It will tell you where is the golden hour, the daytime when it starts, the moon set with the type of phase the moon will be in, where nighttime will start when the galactic core will be visible or will stop or will set. And the same goes for the moon. You can tap on the moon, you can see here all the other different phases of, if you know that the next new moon will be on Saturday 27 August, and that is pretty much the most useful information from these panels here. Meteor showers will tell you where are the meteor showers, when they are, when the type of shower there will be. If you go for the Perseid, for instance, it will tell you that you will pretty much have 12 meteors per hour with the peak the 13th of August at 5 o'clock in the morning. Unfortunately, it will be almost full moon, so it will be a bit of a challenging time. If you go in October, you will have the Orionides, and that seems to be quite a decent meteor shower with 20 meteors per hour. The peak will be the 22nd of October, and basically the moon will be in its waning crescent phase with only 12.4% illumination, and for 7 hours 50 minutes you will have no moon. So if you want to go to photograph a meteor shower and you see this tool, maybe the Orionides are better than the Perseids. So this is how you can use this type of tool. So this concludes this overview of the PhotoPills app. As you can see, it's a very useful tool packed with different functionalities, well worth the price of $10, and you can even use it for Windows or Intel-based Mac using the free BlueStack emulator for Android, as PhotoPills has no native version for a normal computer. So I hope you enjoyed this video, and maybe I will do other videos for other useful applications, and see you next time.